Welcome to the Fire Time Podcast, where it's never hot enough, slow is fast, and the way to win is to make it so stupidly easy to buy from you that there's no excuse not to. I'm your host, Tim Reed. And once again, I'm so excited to be here today. Welcome to the Fire Time Podcast. Now, this episode today is one that I have been really excited to share with you because it's a really cool conversation that I had with Don and Kris Richardson from RPG Brands back at the HPBExpo live in New Orleans. Now, this year at the trade show, they did something new where they hosted these fireside chats throughout the show right in the HPBA membership booth, and I was asked to facilitate this conversation. And essentially, what they wanted to do was have a talk between a father and son in the business world. You know, Don Richardson, who started Arizona Fireplaces way back in the day, and that has rolled into this gigantic, group of companies now with RPG Brands, and his son, Kris, who in particular started Modern Flames. And there are a lot of really cool things in this conversation. I met Don for the first time at this trade show. I've known Kris for years, but I'd never met Don. I'd heard about him quite a bit, but speaking to these guys was really a privilege because one of the things that, has happened, like their company has gotten just massive over the last, 7-8 years or so, but it didn't start that way. And as I was talking with Don and Kris ahead of time, Don specifically wanted to talk about the struggles and the difficulties. And he said, people might see our company now and think that we've done these great things, but he's like, there was a lot of hardship and building a business is not easy. And there's times where it is brutally hard. And it's even more so about how you respond to failure than it is about how you catch success. And that really informed a lot of the conversation. And so this was something that was really fun to be a part of. I mention it that I went to Arizona Fireplaces back in 2019 for some sales training that they were putting on through the Rocky Mountain, or actually it was through the Arizona HPBA back before that rolled into Rocky Mountain. And I was shocked. Again, this is going back 7 years. I was shocked at how big that place was with everything they were doing. And I mean, my understanding is it has just ballooned since then. But I think that there's a real spirit of humility in this conversation. And I think that there's also the sense that, hey, they put their shoes on just like everybody else does. And there's real problems that they have to deal with. It's a real family business, and they are finding a way to try and serve their customers and grow something special. So there's a lot that we cover in this conversation. As always, we'll circle back at the end and I'll share a few parting thoughts. But for now, get out a pen and paper. This is something that you're going to want to take notes to as you listen. So hope you enjoy my conversation with Don and Kris Richardson. Hey everybody, welcome to this fireside chat with Kris and Don Richardson. This is a conversation that I think a lot of people have been wanting to hear. I know that I have. A little background on this. So I went to go visit RPG Brands back in 2018, I think. It was for something with the Arizona HPBA, I think before it merged with Rocky Mountain. And I was dumbfounded at just the facility that you have, distribution, manufacturing, retail. It was truly an empire then. And I've not been back since, but I've talked to people that have been there that are like, oh no, it is it's way, way bigger than even that. And so I think there's a really cool story here because I know that your business started from very humble origins. And it's really cool that you bring, the whole family brings such a unique skill set to the table. And so I'm going to just ask a few questions and then you guys can chat. But the first one I want to ask, Don, for you, people see your company as this big, massive company that's in all these spaces. I know it didn't start out that way. So what was it like starting this thing out?
Well, it was Debbie and I, typical husband and wife, very young. And working out of the house, really not having a clue. And sometimes when you begin a business, ignorance is actually a blessing because we had no idea what we were getting into. And so it's Debbie and I, she knows how to drive a forklift, did everything. I was out trying to sell. We have people along the way real quick that help you. When you don't deserve the help, a little bit of help on a warehouse, a little bit of help on inventory, a friend in Ontario, California that supplied us, when we're beginning. So, we're very thankful for that. So the humble beginnings is something that I actually treasure and hold on to and never forget because, I really can't believe how things are now. And, it's not necessarily Debbie and I we're still active, but not, the company right now is going where it's going because of, Chris and his brother Keith at different companies. But anyway, at the very beginning, it's a struggle. I mean, let's face it, everyone's in business knows that it's not easy. So if you're looking at me, there's some struggles that maybe we'll talk about in a little bit that, I'm happy to share, but it was, when you get into some financial trouble, it's dark. It's a dark time and you're fighting and you don't realize that it's something that is training you for later to appreciate when things are good, but also the grit to fight and to work and to stay ethics, stay true to your word. But man, you got to fight out of that hole and it's a dark hole. And, I think everyone here has been there, but no one talks about it. And I'm very grateful that the way the company is now, it's pretty amazing. And a lot of it, everything has to do with this guy across from me and his brother. Absolutely.
Well, I want to hear about that. So, Kris, I mean, what was your story of growing up in the business, but then coming into it?
So, when I first started working for my dad in the warehouse, I mean, it was $5 an hour, maybe when I turned 12 or 13, right? But that was like just manual labor and doing everything that we could do just to make a few bucks for the summer, right? But I think the one story I'd like to tell is, my dad was very frugal. I'm not gonna say cheap. He was very frugal.
Thank you.
And we would
Other people might say cheap, though, right?
Some people might say cheap. I won't say that. But, we were importing this feather rock. Everyone knows what feather rock is from, Mexico. And it was one price to get them all already cut down and another price to get them in the big boulders, right? So my dad, to save a few bucks, would do it in the big boulders, and we'd be out there with a jackhammer in the 120-degree sun, jackhammering the big boulders of, feather rock into smaller pieces so we could sell to customers. And that was one of many. And obviously there's, fiberglass in feather rock. So you're all itchy and sweaty, and it was not the funnest summers for me.
Well, yeah, but that was good training for you. And, both of them, they never had a desk job during the summer. And the feather rock, okay, so just picture Kris coming back from college, football player, middle linebacker in his prime. Not that you're not in your prime now, but you can imagine this 20-year-old and how he looks. He's all buffed out, and it's all of a sudden 115-degree heat, takes off his shirt and starts wailing on this feather rock, and it was a sight. It was a sight. But anyway, but you.
Well, because the actual jackhammer broke. So I had to do it by hand.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to fix it right away.
Yeah.
So not with you around doing the whole. Yeah. In fact, you should have been on the axe on the wood yesterday. But anyway, so that's a true story. But yeah, but that's how you learn. You learn to work hard. So there was no sissy jobs for this guy.
Yeah, so I would say I didn't really learn the business back then. I was learning how to work hard, which I guess is a good trait, but it was not much about fireplaces at all. It's just manual labor.
That's right. That's a good foundation right there.
So here's a question I want to ask then, based on that. So you started in manual labor, but I'm just thinking about you and your brother and Elliot and all these other leaders in the company. John, how did you hand the reins off to younger people? Like, well, you still have a lot left to give. How did you hand the reins off to start to really grow the business to where it is? It wasn't that hard.
Well, it's a process, and I was Debbie and I were very fortunate to have two very, very, very capable sons, and so it's not just taking a lot of people, let's say if one son isn't that good and the other one is really good, that's a problem. If both of them are no good, that's a problem. But our problem was we had two sons that were exceptional. And I'd say this if we weren't here, by the way, you know that. So to get the reins off, it becomes apparent at a certain time when it's just time. I'm a little bit older. Technology just blew past me. My production, just what I'm able to do, because I don't even know how to spell Excel spreadsheet. I don't even know what that means. And I was past my time, not necessarily of, I'll say wisdom. I don't like to use that word, but experiences I think are valuable. And my experiences help them, but my actual talent on the job it started to fade. And the trouble with guys like me is that if we're type A personality, we don't want to give it up. And a lot of people make that mistake. For some reason, it wasn't that hard for me because I wasn't giving it up to someone who was less. I was actually letting it go to people who actually were better. And once that happened, the company grew tremendously. It's very difficult. If I held on to it, the company would not be anything like it is today. So it was a good decision, right, Chris?
Well, I would add to that. I think that, the biggest thing, the overall decision that you made when it was in 2009, when I came to you with the idea of, Modern Flames and to start a business. And obviously in 2009, we were already kind of entering into a, recession, and it was not going to be, we had no idea of where it was going to go, but I went to you with a business plan. And the biggest memory I had was you cashed in your life insurance, policy, $254,000 to start the business, which I think is crazy. I think it was a bad decision, ended up being a good decision, but it was, going all in on some 22-year-old kid who thought he knew what he was doing, but really had no idea. So, and that is the only, funding we've ever had in that, company. So that's the beginning of that. And then obviously it went down, for a few years after that, as far as the economy goes, but that was really the foundation. And I think that, I know you had this, vision in your mind when you made that choice, but it probably wasn't the best choice.
Well, thanks, Chris. I'll add another story that same time. When did you graduate from college?
2008.
And your brother, 2007. So they show up and, they're college grads and, they're the opposite of arrogant. I'm just saying, but they're confident, right? And they come in and that's 2007, 2008, 2009. And let's face it, we're all struggling. So we're laying off people. Now you think about, we don't start a business by making people's lives miserable. We want people's lives to be better because of it. And all of a sudden, they show up and we weren't that big of a company, but we had to lay off, even if it was like 10 or 15 people. It's heartbreaking because there's no other places for them to go. And we care about these people. And so then Chris would come up to me after about 6 months on there, and I've had to lay some people off. He said, "Dad, I thought business was easy. This is hard." I go, "Well, trust me, it's hard right now, but it will get better." But we talk about feeling like like a loser. I might just call it, when you're laying people off. It's a horrible. You know that you're doing it to survive for another day, but it's a horrible time. But so that's their training. Is when things go bad, not necessarily for decisions that we made, the bigger picture than us. We make plenty of mistakes, but when the economy goes south, for the big picture, and we're pawns in this whole thing, we have to react. And those decisions, if you don't make them, you actually make it worse for yourself, but it's very difficult. So the good training the first couple of years, and that's a good foundation. And that was a tough time though.
Absolutely.
So you brought up 2009 and how dark of a time it was. Again, people see you guys here at the booth, like Chris, you're the chair of the executive committee at the HPBA. Like, oh my gosh, like these guys have made it. John, can you talk in particular about a time that was like a real struggle for you guys that, looking back on it, maybe helped you become who you are and grow to where you are, but was really hard at the time?
Well, there is a moment in everyone's life, journey, business. It's a really defining moment, and it's not necessarily in a good way. And those were in the late 80s. Debbie and I, we still a fairly new company, no real working capital. And we were a distributor for Majestic Fireplaces. And that's the guys in Indiana, Ray Daisy, Larry McMichaels, Tim Rethlake, Chris Flick. There's a group of great guys there. And so we were selling these little wood burning fireplaces. We're in the fireplace business, but just barely, right? And so we owed a lot of money. And so we're supplying the apartments. Long story short, we called up, and every truckload of fireplaces was maybe $20,000. Well, we owed Majestic $750,000. And so I said, hey, can you guys ship another truck? Well, yeah, Don, you go to send us a check for $750,000 and we'll release another 20. I go, well, I can't even pay for the 20. And so the next day they all flew out, obviously, and said, hey, the problem is that you owe us $750,000. The good thing is you owe us $750,000 and we can't let you go out of business. So they worked a workout for us, and it took all of the 90s. I'm talking 10 years, and we paid off every bit. And Debbie and I, we scrimped and saved, and we worked so hard and to pay off that debt. And so that's why you have to stay humble, because when you owe money, it's dark at night sometimes. When it's 2 a.m. and you have that, you sweat, and when you go to work and it's another day of getting your butt kicked and people calling day after day after day. And I go, hey, really, I'm a good guy. I'm not that guy. I'm really a good guy. Yeah, but you owe us money. So that was a moment that was a real struggle, but we got through it. And it actually is a test of, relationships. Debbie, she was right there the whole way. And, but it took a long time. So that actually laid a foundation for maybe why I made you chop those big boulders and save a couple bucks, right? Yeah. Maybe that's the basis of that, Chris.
There you go.
What do you think?
No, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that, the fact that I was raised that way, being frugal and being, hardworking, power through it, is definitely, a testament to everything you've done. And also, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that you've done well is you've allowed me to make my own mistakes, right? It's not something, you've allowed me to do my own thing and learn the hard way and not, try to solve it for me.
Well, I think real quick, you are way more of a visionary than I am. Your mom and I, we were just trying to survive. We were just trying to figure things out. We weren't able to think too much in the future because we didn't know what that future was. And we did, change our business here and there a little bit, but then you were able to come in and start a whole new company. And obviously that's a whole nother story. It's a great story, but.
Hey, this is Tim with the Fire Time Podcast, and I hope you're enjoying this episode. Well, hey, in our final episode of the season coming up, we are going to have a Q&A episode. And so as you've been listening or watching, if there's any questions that you have specifically about your business, what do I do in this situation? Or maybe me or a guest said something that you want clarification on, send those questions in and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that we get to it. You can go to itsfiretime.com/ask. Enter that question, and again, we'll try to answer it the best that we can. Hopefully, this Q&A episode is going to be something that really helps you out. Go to itsfiretime.com/ask to get your question in. I'd love to shift focus to that. So, Chris, what's the story from your perspective? I mean, so your dad cashes in his life insurance policy in like one of the worst economic recessions that we've ever had. And then the pressure's on. Like, what did that feel like? And what was the journey of going through Modern Flames to begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the story behind that is I really thought I knew what I was doing, right? I had a business plan. I thought it was going to work out. And I think 1 year in, it was like, it wasn't working out, right? And we were, we're losing money. And I remember you kept on, saying, hey, we're going to keep this thing going and keep this thing going. But, my journey was more just, it was hard. And then I learned the hard lessons, but then we got through the early days, Modern Flames. And then as I got on, and started to grow it a little bit and got out of the first hump, there was a project that we did. We tried to do the fusion fire, right? I hate saying that name, but because it was a bad time, but it was a steam fireplace we were developing, and it took, a year and a half or 2 years. And I was like, this thing's got to fly. And it didn't, and I think that when I finally realized that it wasn't going to be a product was when my oldest son, who's 8 now, he just turned 8 last week. He was just born, and we had a trade show in Harrogate in the UK, and we were showing it, and it was the first trade show I wasn't going to, and just to be home with my newborn son, and the steam fireplace we were going to show out there didn't work. So I got a call from I think it was Elliot, and then he said, "Hey, this is not working." So I booked a flight. 2 hours later, hopped on a flight over to Europe, and I brought a new boiler over there, because that's how we made the steam. And when I was at that show, I was only there for a day. I walked around and I realized that we were falling behind, and this is not going to fly. This is not the future. And that was the reason we shifted 8 years ago and did what we started doing now, was because of that move. It was a show I wasn't going to go to, and then ended up, going back, making a whole new, line of electric fireplaces. And that was really what made the company what it is now.
So, okay. You said something there that I think is really powerful. Jim Collins, famous business author, says that in order to win, a company must be able to confront the brutal facts of the situation, no matter how severe. And I know for myself, that is very difficult. It's never easy, but I'm always better for it. That's a moment where you confronted some brutal facts that were not pleasant, but it made you better. How have you guys together been able to do that?
I think that obviously having my dad and my older brother Keith, there's been a lot of times when just having that, somebody to talk to about, what you're going through has been helpful. But I think that a lot of it is just understanding that, hey, you got to make it a decision, and no one's coming to save you, right? It's somebody, I think somebody mentioned that to me one time. It's like, hey, you got to make this call, and whether it's good or bad, you got to deal with the consequences. And that's what you told me.
Well, when you actually made that decision, I'm glad you brought it up, because you actually were admitting failure. And the trouble with all of us here, we're not failure people, or else you wouldn't even be here. We're the people that, produce and hopefully win and do good things. But to admit failure, and actually, if you didn't, just think if you said, no, I'm going to stay with this because whatever, your ego or whatever, that would have been a horrible decision. So, but the right decision a lot of times is the hardest decision. I think we all know that in our lives. And when you made that decision, and that was all on you, and you said, I'm pulling the plug on this thing. And actually, it was a proud moment. A proud moment, not that the failure, but that you had the breadth of your being to say, you know what, this is not going to be a good product. But that was a big moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a big decision. It was all on your shoulders. So yeah, that's how life is,
Yeah.
It's not those decisions along the way. You have to, whether, what school do you go to? Where do you live? Who do you marry? All these key decisions in your life are so critical. And that was a big one business-wise, for sure.
Why do you guys think that family business is the right call? So many people are like, stay away from your family. Don't mix it together. Why is family business the right decision for you?
So I'll take that one first. So I think that starting off, my mom and dad started Arizona Fireplaces. My brother started AF Distributors. So that was a separate, similar but separate, right? Wholesale distribution versus the retail stores. And then I started Modern Flames, which was, another separate, manufacturing of only electric fireplaces. And that's why I think it really worked, because we all have that more of a type A, want to get stuff done, want to be successful. And it'd be hard to have that all in one company. So I think that early on, starting off with 3 different, companies, was the reason why it's worked so well, because we all had our own space to grow and to build something. And it was all separated, right? But we all came together too.
Yeah. So you didn't want to work for your brother? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it would have worked out the same way.
No. Thank goodness, each of you. There's a joke in our buildings is that so Kris has his building, Keith has his building, and I'm in the building in between. And so I'm the judge. I got the powdered wig on. If there's ever a disagreement, okay, boys, come on, and boom.
Yeah, and I'll say that overall, and just speaking real, I mean, we have always gotten along. Our family dynamic is, I think, very unusual because there are not those battles. There are battles every now and then when something happens, but overall, I mean, it's been a very great experience in the family business. I think for a lot of reasons, right? But I think that for the main thing is we've all kind of had our own thing to grow and build and have that as our identity, right?
Yeah, and each of you are independent, and but yet we're coordinated but independent. I mean, and that's why the family, it is scary, and not with our family. We've been very fortunate, but to how sad would it be to have a husband and wife start a business and say, oh, this is going to be great and all this, and then the kids don't like each other, everyone's fighting. It would be really sad. And we are very fortunate that we do get along. They even invite us over for dinner all the time. And I think they like us. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think we live 2 miles apart. I live half a mile from my older brother and a mile from you, or 2 miles from you. And it's all, I mean, we are very, very close.
Yeah, that's true. Debbie and I talk about it all the time. We're very fortunate and we always love it when you invite us over. So keep that up, okay?
I want to ask this, Kris, what do you admire most in your dad? What has he shown you through the time you've worked together?
I mean, that's a hard question, but I mean, because there's a lot, right? I mean, I think that he's always, I mean, even to this day, he just turned 70. I don't know if that's a spoiler alert, but he's in the office 6 days a week, Saturdays still, whenever he's in town, obviously, but he's working every single day. He gets in early in the morning and he works until 5 at night, Saturdays included. I took off Saturdays about a year or two ago, but he's still in there every day, and he's always willing to take risks. And I think that's really what's the hard work and the ability or the tolerance for risk has always been what's made him successful, and which in turn our family successful. Going back to that initial investment, I mean, that was a risk. It was a big risk, right? Especially at that time. But even now to this day, I mean, building a new steel fabrication, a factory down in Arizona, which is another one of the companies that we don't really talk about, but there's just a lot going on, and he's always been wanting to just keep on growing.
Well, I will say this just so, I do work a lot, but I'm not running anything. My job is to take those things that I don't want you to get bogged down or your brother to get bogged down. Like, not that we have that many lawsuits, but just that the grimy, horrible part of the business that, maybe my experience has a little weight. Maybe someone owes us some money. Although I think one guy didn't like it when he only owes $200, and here's the perceived owner of these companies say, hey, are you going to get that $200 in? And they said, Keith, your dad called me for $200, man. Doesn't he have anything better to do?
That's a true story. And it's only a one-time story. I mean, it's a consistent story.
Well, that is a little embarrassing. I'm $200. I mean, I did make that call.
I will say though,
it was nice. So I like the guy.
I'll say that you are the best accounts receivable out of anybody out there.
Well, accounts receivable is the ultimate sales job, because these are customers you have relationships with, and you like them, and everyone gets in trouble. Well, I just told you the first part of this. Look at the trouble that I had, so I can relate. And so I tell them, oh, Don's calling. Trust me, I've been in a lot worse situation than you guys. So let me help you. I'm here to help, but be sure that you call me back though. I'm not going to chase you. All right. I'm here to help. And and it ends up being good. So anyway, that's my role. I'm not in the front. I'm in. So you ever get a call from Don? Some people say, "Uh-oh, I'm getting a call from the principal." That means I'm in the principal's office. And but I'm nice, aren't I? Most of the time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Enough about me.
I want to ask you a question now for you. What are you most proud of with your son?
Oh my gosh. Well,
Let's say with both your sons, because your other one's sitting right over here too.
well, I tell you what, they obviously they're great leaders. And they're sure of themselves without being arrogant. And our family does not like people that all think they're all of that. We all know, we call it the law of the playground. When you pick teams when you're in elementary school, you know who the best players are. You don't say, pick me. You go, no, you're going to go the third round. I'm going to pick him. He's going to go first round. So you know talent. You don't have to show yourself off. And so these guys, they just are. Everyone knows and they also attract younger talent wants to work for talent. And they don't want to work for me. I'm too old. They say, well, Don's 70, but you got a talented, that's a part of our company, why they're so good, I think, is that the whole group that report to these guys are also, I call them the cool guys, the cool people, the people you want to hang with. They're not, I don't know. It's hard to explain. So that's what's the culture is. Their leadership style creates a culture that I'm very, very proud of, and that hopefully our reputation reflects that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's next for RPG?
Well, I would say that we've been pretty busy the last couple of years, so we're going to probably stick to what we're doing now. But I think that whenever there's a little bit of a opening, I mean, there's always something that's next and that's new. But we've got our hands full right now. I think we developed a lot of new products this last year, and now we're getting it through marketing and sales. And then yeah, that's a good question. I think that there's a plan there, but nothing I'll share today.
Hey, with Tim, don't ask me what's new at RPG, because if they want anything to get out in the industry, they tell me, and I can't keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, Chris told me you got to make a few more phone calls on accounts receivable.
Yeah, right. So they say, hey, Dad, come over, we'll show you something in engineering, and they did that a couple of years ago, and I would take a video, and now they don't invite me over to engineering anymore. It's like I had a picture of me with the X through it.
Yeah, we have a key fob on the door, and somehow he lost his.
Somehow.
Okay, let's go down with this. I'm gonna give you a sentence. I want you to finish it in one word for me. You're allowed to elaborate. Okay, let's start with Kris. Let's end with Don. Kris, leadership is a game of.
That's a hard one. Leadership is a game of doing the right thing. I think just being. I mean, one word's hard, right? But I think that it's more about. Maybe I'll change it to leading by example.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
So I think that part of the overall, like at least how I grew up, right, is like you got to be on the front lines. You got to be willing to do what you're asking others. You know, I'm here every trade show, setting up the booth, and actually not this trade show because have the board meetings, right? But being there on the front lines, doing all the grunt work and doing that, I think builds the culture that you were talking about, is just being willing to do those things and I actually enjoy it. I don't like doing it either.
Yeah, lead by example, and you do.
Lead by example, yep.
That's what you say too? Is that what you say too, Don? Or what do you got for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just say that, yeah, you lead by example, and you don't say, hey, this is our plan, guys. Once you take that hill, I'll be back here, drinking coffee. He's leading the charge, and everyone is behind him. They want to be behind him because they want to go where that guy's going. If you want that hill, I'm following you. And the same thing with your brother. You guys, that's a natural leadership. You don't have to convince anyone. They're just there because of it. It's just a style, but it's a confidence. I mean, I'll tell you just quick story on the river. These guys lead the trip on our Grand Canyon river trips, and I'm glad to follow them, and I'm glad they're in the lead because I wouldn't want to be there, but we're going where they're going, and even in business, that's where it is that wherever you guys take this place, I don't care how much work it is or whatever. We're going, whether we get hurt or not.
That's great. Okay, I said that was the end, but I got one more question, Don. I want to hear the funniest story you have of something that has happened in within the RPG brands.
The funniest story? Oh my gosh. I mean,
Be careful.
well, okay.
This is being recorded.
I have to say it.
No.
Okay, well, first of all, I would never be in charge of an HR department, but we had a moment in time. I just say, hey, they hired someone that was going to be in charge of all the computers and all that, and oh boy, Debbie's saying I can't say it.
No. He was blind. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I was not a part of that. I was actually, I came back and was very surprised. So it was very, it was a challenging time. I don't know if it was funny, but
Can you help me on a funny story that
I think you got it. You nailed it.
Oh man, this is why I'm not in charge of HR.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
Well, here's what I'll say. From being here, talking with you guys, and just kind of watching from afar, what really amazes me is Don, the humility that you've shown to start to build this really successful company, and then hand the reins off while you still have plenty to give, and you are still giving it in your own ways. But just like you said, like, I'll follow them where they want to go. Like, man, that's a servant's heart, and that's something that everybody here should be paying attention to. Like, if we want to grow something great, it requires us to empower others to rise up. And like, that's the only way that progress happens. So it's pretty cool to hear that. Kris, thanks for being here, man. It's really cool to hear your guys' story.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Don and Kris Richardson. It was really awesome to be a part of it. And really, I mean, my job was kind of just to ask a question and then just step aside and let them handle it. And there were just some really, really cool things that they talked about. I mean, when you think about first, like, the belief that Don had in Kris to cash in his life insurance policy, like, during a really tumultuous time, because he believed in his son and he wanted to see him succeed. Like, I mean, what a word about commitment and about family togetherness. That was absolutely amazing. And I'm just thinking about, like, from Kris's perspective, like the weight that you feel when your dad cashes this in so that you can go build it. Like, there's a real sense of responsibility there. And it seems like Kris and the team have stewarded that really, really well. I think what is also really neat to think about is just the dynamic of hardship. You know, Don talked about, like, that time of them being, over $700,000 in debt, and that they had good suppliers that they worked with, right? They had partners. And I mean, and the partners are saying, like, we can't let you go out of business. Like, we need to get this money back. But the fact that they were able to work together and that over the course of time, Don was able to pay it back. Like, I think that this is a testament to the generous heart that we need to have, with our customers and with our vendors and suppliers. It is so easy to let things like this get contentious. And the fact that, Don had the courage to actually address those people that he owed the money to and tell them what was going on. And the fact that the Majestic Group was willing to work with him on those terms. I think that is like a model that we really need to be thinking about and following. In today's world, there's a growing rift between manufacturers and dealers, because I think in large part, many companies have forgotten that we're actually supposed to be partners. We're not leveraging each other for our own gain. Like we're partners in this together. And I just thought that was a really cool story, especially the fact that, like, again, you look at RPG brands today, monster company, right? I mean, they got their family of 4 brands that they're bringing to the market. And if you rewind back, a couple decades ago, it wasn't like that. And I think that especially when Don speaks, like, he knows what it's like to struggle. He knows what it's like to lose sleep about not being able to make payroll. And it is really cool to see how they've come out on the other side. And then, to Kris's credit, and again, Kris's brother is in the business. I'm thinking about other leaders in that company too. Like, this is true for a lot of them, but Kris stepped into a spot where, he had a lot of advantages that he could take for granted. But I mean, if you listen to him in the conversation, and if you know Kris at all, then you know that, like, he approaches his business with humility and with a work ethic that says, hey, we're going to do what it takes to get this done. I've still got that vision of him out there, like, in the burning Arizona heat, like coming back from college, like just, working like by the sweat of his brow. And I think that their mentality of like, hey, if that's the work that needs to get done, that's the work we're going to do. I think that really, really goes a long way. And what's also really cool is that when you have a situation like what you heard them talk about in that conversation, I think that it becomes so much easier to make decisions. There's an amazing book years ago that Tim Rethlake put me in touch with that is about moving at the speed of trust. And essentially the premise is that when there is a high level of trust between members of a company, speed increases. It increases. When there's not trust, everything slows down because maybe they said they would do it, but you're not actually sure. So you have to go back and double check. Maybe you think this would be a good idea to do, but you don't want that person in the company to look good. You want your idea to look better, so you don't go along with it and you try to get the company to go somewhere else. When there is shared trust, it allows everyone to move in the same direction so much faster. And honestly, like, even in my day-to-day job at Wi-Fi, as we're building software for the industry, there are so many things where, like, I look around and I'm like, man, when it comes to moving our industry forward with the sales process, with the way that we engage customers online, with the way that we do training for our dealers who sell our products, I think that there are so many manufacturers where it's like, these are not hard decisions, but they're decisions that require trust. And where trust is not established within an organization, you will never be able to make the business logic decisions to actually make an impact. You'll be stuck with bureaucracy and redundancy because the trust simply isn't there. And talking with Don and Kris, it's very clear that the trust that they have for each other is so established, they can make effective decisions. And that would be something for the rest of us to take note as well. Have we established that level of trust? Do the leaders in our company feel truly empowered to go out and do their job? Or are they always looking over their shoulder, trying not to make a mistake? I mean, with this whole thing, like that whole story about Kris deciding to kill the product that, like, they had sunk so much into. If there's a situation where trust wasn't established and it was just pure ego, he never would have made that decision. But looking back on it, that was obviously the right move. And you look at the innovation that led them to, it would not have happened if they would have stuck with what they had. And so I think that idea of moving at the speed of trust is super, super important. And Kris and Don absolutely exemplify that. So, I mean, there's so many things you can take away from that conversation. It's obvious that they have a good time working together. And I guess that's something else too. I was listening to a podcast pretty recently, and it was a tech podcast about this like new technology that is really like disrupting a lot of things on the internet. And essentially it was created by one guy. And there's all these like multi-billion-dollar tech companies that were not able to figure this out. And this one guy was. And the podcaster asked him, like, how is that possible? Like, how were you able to do this when all these other companies weren't? And why can't they catch up to you? And his answer was so great. He said, oh man, it's easy. They all take themselves way too seriously. It's really hard to compete with someone who's just having fun. And I think that is so true when we don't take ourselves too seriously. When we're out there trying to do our best, but just to have fun, there is a massive advantage to that compared to companies that take themselves way too seriously and just get bogged down by their own muck and mire that comes with that. So there's a lot in that conversation that people can take away. Honestly, like one of the things that I'd love to do would be to sit down with them for a deeper dive, because that was obviously a pretty short conversation, but there sure was a lot there. Well, hey, if this episode today was a blessing for you and you want to support this show financially, you can do that by going to the website itsfiretime.com/join. That's itsfiretime.com/join. And we say this week in and week out, we are so thankful to those of you who do support this show. If you're not able to, there is absolutely no pressure. Our goal is for this to be a gift for you that helps you grow your business and bless the people around you. But for those of you who do support it, like that's the reason that we can continue to put out content like this. It's the reason we've been able to upgrade to have this released on video this season. So we're incredibly thankful for you. And if you want to support it and you go to that website, we have some really cool rewards that you'll see as our way of saying thank you for believing in this and growing the community together. So with all of that in mind, I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. As we walk away from this, I would say, think about where in your business you need to increase the level of trust in order that you can move faster and faster and make decisions in a way that's most effective. It seems like RPG has really embodied that. They have known what failure feels like and tastes like. And the truth is, anyone who does something of significance knows that exact same feeling. So don't get bogged down in the fact that something may not be working right now. I think that if you're leading with trust, if you're leading with humility, and you're willing to stick with it, good things are going to happen. So that's something that they've really exemplified. I hope you're able to take that away as well. So hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. We will talk again very soon. Thank you for listening to the Fire Time Podcast. To learn more, visit the website itsfiretime.com. Music from this episode was written and recorded by In Bloom out of Portland, Oregon. We thank you for listening to the Fire Time Podcast, where it's never hot enough, slow is fast, and the way to win is to make it so stupidly easy to buy from you that there's no excuse not to. We'll see you next time.
All into